Hello, I'm Andrew Walters, and this is Theodore Roosevelt and the National Parks. My question is, of the numerous sparks of brilliance the great country of America has produced, the national parks are truly remarkable temples of economic and social ingenuity. In what presidential actions did Theodore Roosevelt succeed in the formation of American national parks, such as Crater Lake, and how Americans of those regions are keeping up the preservation of the resources like tree types of redwood and historic sites such as the water geyser Old Faithful? The intro consists of how North America was rich and untouched. Ambition brought good and bad of the Western expansion and of the Industrial Revolution. Pollution hurt plants, minerals, and animals. Who was Theodore Roosevelt? His first and second terms. The trust, admiration, and faith of the people to the national parks and the Progressive Party. Communities and tourism. Private and federal land disputes. Government interference. Beneficial partnerships. Taxpayers and infrastructure, and bright ideas for the future. The New World, to which Christopher Columbus of 1492 discovered, this was what would become America. The indigenous people, sometimes referred as Indians, took care of the land. When new European settlers came in, Indian populations decreased due to measles and other sort of diseases. After the American Revolutionary War of the 17th century, Western expansion became possible. Let's get into depth of such harms brought onto the land. Ambitioned Americans took advantage of the land and without taking care of it. The Industrial Revolution of the 18th century brought factories of machines and tools that polluted the air. Air harmed by smoke and burning of various chemicals like carbon dioxide hurt the atmosphere. Quote, causes of pollution now that we use the fossil fuels and that they get there and kill the ozone layer. Water pollutions are caused by industrial waste that gets dumped into the lakes, rivers, and streams. This can kill not only the animals that live in the water, but can affect the whole food chain, especially humans because we are dependent on water. Quote, Griswold 3. Lush forests cut down excessively would only leave stumps. Tree types like redwood or hickories once resided cannot grow back. Redwood roots dismantled. Other trees like the American chestnut got diseases like blight or mildew. And then foreign trees like buckthorn and honeysuckle took over the land. Canyons were dug up in search of minerals like coal, silver, gold, and salt, as seen as in the gold rush. As the portion of an ecosystem changes, we see a chain reaction from depleting plants and minerals to depleting animal wildlife. The destruction of an ecosystem, home or niche, results in the disappearance of animals, such as the American buffalo, deer, and certain types of birds like the St. Helena dove and the passenger pigeon. Growth of industrialization can be seen as the destruction of a once fruitful land and its inhabitants, but some wanted to see change to that, like Theodore Roosevelt. U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt was a lover of the land, a boy of New York City, a strong background of strong private education, was influenced by his father, who was in business, and his mother, who was in agriculture. As an adult, Theodore Roosevelt was an assemblyman, police commissioner, and a governor, a true figure of authority. He loved hunting. When he hunted, he stuffed those animals and gave them to museums like the American Museum of National History. And for example, he brought 622 types of bird stuffings to the Smithsonian. And one trip in North Dakota, he was fascinated by a buffalo hunt. Quote, I've always said I would not have been president had it not been for my experience in North Dakota, source Theodore Roosevelt quotes. Later, he would get a ranch in the West. Quote, I do not believe there was ever any life more attractive to a vigorous young fellow than a life on a cattle ranch. in those days. It was a fine, healthy life, too. It taught a man self-reliance, hardihood, and the value of instant decisions. I enjoyed life to the full. United States National Park Service, Theodore Roosevelt quotes. He was also big on giving animals a sense of importance and character, as, quote, magpies are birds that attract the eye at once with their bold black and white plumage and long tails, and they are very saucy, at the same time very cunning and shy. U.S. National Park Service, Theodore Roosevelt quotes. An animal and landscape-loving young man would grow up having a hearty, strong personality and a mindset that would aid him during his days of presidency. During the Spanish-American War of 1898, he was a lieutenant colonel and leader of the 1st U.S. Volunteer Cavalry. He built that cavalry with his unique capabilities of recruiting and organization. He rode with them horseback. Quote, Roosevelt's fame and personality turned him into the de facto leader of this ragtag group of polo players, hunters, cowboys, Native Americans, and athletic college buddies. The regiment of Roosevelt's Rough Riders was born. The U.S. National Park Service, Theodore Roosevelt, the Rough Rider. With achievement after achievement, Theodore Roosevelt drove an easy path to step into the presidential office.